I gotta do it again. I gotta. You know, I gotta do it again. I gotta do it. What do you want me to do? I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. What's up, guys? It's Carrie from HomesteadHow, and in today's episode, we've been homesteaders now for 5 years. We're gonna talk about, is it worth it becoming a homesteader 5 years later? This 1 foot. We're going to talk about our experience, our pros, our cons, and some big mistakes we made. We're going to share with you. So, if you're a new homesteader or a would-be homesteader, learn from our mistakes. Let's talk about some of those pros and some of those cons. You may be asking, why am I filming this at nighttime in the dark? Because this is the only time I have to do it. One thing with being a homesteader is it's a lot of work, especially if you have a full-time job beyond homesteading, which most first-time homesteaders will have to deal with. Unless you're rich or you're retired, you're probably going to be working a regular job and then doing your homestead activities around those things. So first, let's start with some of the cons of being a homesteader. The first and biggest con from my perspective is the expense. It's extremely expensive to find a decent property to homestead on. You're going to want something with some land, a little bit of acreage, maybe some water coming through it, and that's not going to be cheap. We were able to get around that because we're not rich and we're not retired. We were able to get around that by buying a fixer-upper house. The house that we purchased was foreclosed on. It was sitting for 2 years. It had probably 100 people come look through it that all fell in love with the land and the forest and the possibilities, but as soon as they walked in the house, they said, no way, and they left. I walked in the house and pretty much said the same thing, but then thought about it some more, and ultimately we ended up getting this. I remember the first time we brought our girls through this. We've got triplets plus one, 4 girls. The first time we brought them through here, one of them was literally crying. Oh my God, Dad, what are you doing to us? This place is a complete dump. And it was, and it took about a year to fix it up. So that's one sort of tip. If you're able to purchase something and you're able to do the work and fix it up, which hopefully you're able to do some work and fix it up, because if you're going to take on homesteading, you're going to need to be a little handy. Lots of projects as being a homesteader. We built chicken coops, tiny houses. We built a dog kennel, greenhouse. Lots of building projects being a homesteader. That first one can be the home that you get itself, and that could be one way to save some money on your properties. Get a fixer-upper. Just don't get in over your head. On the flip side, don't get in over your head purchasing something you can't afford, because that's a mistake I see a lot of people doing. Years ago, I was a real estate agent, and I saw that quite a bit. Just because you're pre-approved for X doesn't mean you need to purchase at X. Go a little bit lower so you have a little bit of a cushion there. So that's one of the big cons, is the barrier to entry, the cost of purchasing your homestead. The second con I wanted to talk about, the work. It's a lot of hard work. And I know you're probably saying, I don't mind hard work. That's why I want to become a homesteader. We said the same thing, but I guarantee you it's more work than what you're anticipating. Even just having a few animals, it's a ton of work. Every morning you got to get out there and feed them. We've got to come out when it's freezing cold out, fill a 5-gallon bucket of water up, take it out to the goats, come back, fill another bucket up, take it out to the chickens. It's a lot of work caring for animals and caring for a large piece of property. There's trees. Just the other day, a tree fell down in the road. It's my responsibility. It's my land. I got to go cut the tree down, get it out of the road, clear the way for traffic to come through. Especially if you're getting a fixer-upper, and especially if you're like us and most people and you're working a full-time job and then you're trying to homestead on top of it. It's a ton of work, and it's more work than you're going to consider. Having animals is a pro, but it's also a con, especially if you get goats like we did. I'll make this one short and sweet. Don't get boy goats. They're insane. They don't do much. They don't produce anything. I don't know what we were thinking. Don't get boy goats. We'll leave that at number 3. Another con. Each of these cons has a flip side. There's a pro and a con, the yin and the yang. So this con, you're out in the middle of nowhere. On one hand, that's awesome, that's beautiful, that's nice. On the other hand, you're out in the middle of nowhere. You're out here all the time, day in, day out. It can get boring. And at our old place, when we lived in the city, if we wanted to get out of the house, you could go to a movie 5 minutes away. You could go out to eat a couple minutes away. You want to do that here, it's a half hour, 45 minutes, hour away. In fact, the nearest large home improvement store, like a Menards or a Home Depot, is an hour from here. There's one an hour that way, there's one an hour that way, there's one an hour that way. Any way you look at it, it's an hour drive away. Every time you want to go to the hardware store, it's an hour drive away.
I gotta do it again, I gotta.
You know, I gotta do it again. I gotta do it. What do you want me to do? I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I gotta do it.
Oh gosh.
I'm pretty good at this. 1 foot. So it's expensive. The commute, the gas, it gets expensive. But that sort of being isolated part, it's very nice on one hand, and that's what a lot of people look for in homesteading, including us. But if you work from home and you're at your homestead 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, working, and you want to get out, there's not a lot of places to go if you live out in the middle of nowhere like we do. And like most homesteads are going to be. If you get a lot of land, you're going to be kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So that's another con. Firewood is another con. Look at that as a pro or a con. We deal with a lot of firewood here. Again, this is unique to our homestead, but we've got our outdoor wood burner. We burn all of our own wood from our property, so we don't have to pay for propane, but it's a ton of work. Cutting wood, splitting wood, stacking wood, stoking the fire twice a day. A lot of work. We did another video on that wood burning stove. It's going crazy right now on YouTube. It just hit 500,000 views. Not trying to brag about it. Well, I am a little bit, but we've been doing YouTube for a long time, so it's nice to have a big success like that. Go check that video out if you want. It's in the description below. We'll walk here now. Let's see, we'll go this way. One of the pros, just right now, being that it's night, you can't really see this on camera. Full moon, 1,000,000 stars above my head right now. There's, the view is unbelievable. And I think I just heard some coyotes yelping. So we're out here in nature, which is awesome. Bunny tracks on the ground, there's deer tracks over here. All right, let's go over here for a little while. So those were some of the cons. Now let's talk about the fun stuff, the pros. One of the biggest pros is you're out in the middle of nowhere. Again, there's two sides to every coin, but being out in the middle of nowhere is awesome. We got 20 acres here. There's no neighbors. This is all hunting land around us, so we can do whatever we want within reason. If I want to pull out a machine gun and start shooting right now, I can do that. If I want to get a stick of dynamite, throw it over there in our old well, I can do that. Drive the Argo around in circles, walk around in my underwear in the front yard, we can do any of that because we live out in the middle of nowhere and nobody is around for miles, literally. So that is a really cool thing. It's also nice being in nature. We've got lots of trees, there's deer, wild turkey around. So being out in nature, secluded, peace and quiet, man, I sleep so good at night. That is one of the big pros of being a homesteader, is just the peace and quiet and solitude, being out in nowhere, looking up, seeing 1,000,000 stars, the Milky Way. I couldn't see that in the city, there's too much light pollution, but we can see that fine here. So that's one of the big pros of being a homesteader. Another one is the food. So we've got a lot of work to do still. It's been 5 years, but we've got farm fresh organic eggs every single day that are awesome. Way better than you get at the store. Good for you as well. We've got raspberries, tons of raspberries in summertime, fresh raspberries. We just planted a bunch of fruit trees. We're not getting fruit off of those yet, but we will soon. Garden, cucumbers, tomatoes, carrots. Being able to control your own food is one of the big benefits of being a homesteader. That is really one of the big ones. So you can go to the grocery store and you can get food, but most of it's packed with sugar and all sorts of ingredients that you don't even know what they are. Here we can grow our own food, put the hard work in, and then eat our own food and know what we're eating, can it, preserve it, whatever. So that's a big pro of being a homesteader, having your own food source, grown locally, controlled by you. It's a very rewarding thing, and I'm hoping we can do a lot more of it, because on the con side of things, it was a very difficult challenge, and it still is a challenge. The first year our garden completely failed. We got really sandy soil here. The second year we had some success. We tried planting a whole bunch of cantaloupes over here, watermelons here. They started to grow, the deer got them. But we have our deer fence now, so we're gonna try. We're constantly improving things. So that's another big pro. So the two pros I said so far were solitude, being out in the middle of nowhere, being able to do whatever you want. Food, being able to control the food. Third one, money. So this is unique to us, possibly, but maybe it shouldn't be unique to you if you're starting a homestead. Something you should really think about. How can I start a homestead and then also still make some money from it? We treated our homestead from the beginning like a business. The first thing we did, we started our YouTube channel. Took some while for it to make some money, but it's doing pretty decent now. It's bringing in some revenue to our homestead, which is awesome. It's also just a lot of fun to do. And it's really cool to be able to look back and see our progress over the last 5 years, starting from building a little chicken coop all the way up to building a dog kennel, greenhouses. We built 2 tiny houses on this property in the last 5 years. So it's really cool to be able to see the progress. But anyways, back to the point, the money part of it. We make money off of YouTube. The other thing we did with our homestead, we were lucky to find one that is a 2-family. So our house was completely trashed, like I said, when we first bought it. We had to fix it up. We lived in the upper unit, which was not all the way trashed, but still pretty bad. We lived in there, fixed up the bottom. After about a year, we had the bottom fixed up, and then we decided to rent the top out on Airbnb. And that just took off. It's been doing really well for us. There's lots of folks that are interested in homesteading and they want to stay on a 20-acre homestead with goats and chickens, and they want to experience it. They want to eat the farm fresh eggs. So we've got a lot of guests coming to us for that. And so that's a big pro for us that may be unique to us, but maybe shouldn't be unique to all homesteaders, is think about how you can make money off your homestead. So we're doing it with our Airbnb rental. We're doing it with our YouTube channel. And then we recently got our dog kennel up and running, which we built on our homestead and did several YouTube videos for. So that's a pro for us. That's probably a little bit more unique to us, is making money off of our homestead is another big pro. Let's see, what else is there? I've got more pros. One other con is, I kind of talked about this a little bit, but being out in the middle of nowhere, it has its pros and its cons, but one of the cons of being out in the middle of nowhere, besides Menards is an hour away, is our road out here is almost never plowed. So we get stuck in here all the time. We don't have the attention that you'd have out in the middle of the city where they're constantly plowing the road and salting the road. We're so far out. A tree fell down in the road the other day. It sat there for like 4 days. We couldn't hardly get past the road out there. I had to go clear it out of the way. If we have an injury or something here, the nearest hospital is 40 minutes away. So that's a con from the homestead. True, you're out in the middle of nowhere, but there's some drawbacks to that. What other positives are there? Let me think here. Animals. We love animals. So here's another pro. There's some bad things with the male goats that we got, and then there's some good things with animals. We've got 2 dogs, we've got 2 cats, and we love animals. The chickens are awesome. First thing you do if you're becoming a homesteader is get chickens. For us, they're the hardest working animals I've ever seen. We open the chicken coop door in the morning, they scatter around, and all day they're eating ticks and insects and mosquitoes and bugs, and they're just foraging all through the ground, and it fertilizes the ground, and then it grows up nice and green, all the while producing amazing farm fresh eggs for us. They're just entertaining to watch too. I never would have thought I'd be so interested in chickens. We got them. It was the first thing we did. Most homesteaders do, and don't regret that at all. The goats, on the other hand, was kind of a big mistake. We've got 2 male goats. Obviously, you cannot get goat cheese with male goats. You can't do much of anything with male goats. I don't know why we got male goats. It was one of the stupidest things we did. That's a mistake. Another mistake, gung-ho. So if you get a homestead like we did, as soon as we moved in, 20 acres, we got everything. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. What are we gonna do? We started building the chicken coop. We started building the goat coop. Let's get animals. Let's do this, let's do that. I went out and I bought a tractor from a neighbor. Like, I'm gonna need something to plow this long driveway. Biggest mistake I ever made. So here's one big mistake if you're a new homesteader. Just slow down, think things through, do your research, and don't let your excitement allow you to make foolish decisions like we did. That tractor, for example, I paid way too much money for it, and it's freezing cold, obviously. We're in Wisconsin. Freezing cold, snowing out. I'm sitting on a metal tractor with no cab or anything on it, trying to plow this driveway over and over again. I did it for about 2 years, but it was miserable. And then I found a heated, that's right, heated plow truck. It was about the quarter of the cost of the entire tractor, this plow truck. And did I mention it's heated? You go in and you turn the heat on, and you're sitting in there in a nice heated cab with the radio on, plowing the driveway. Way better than that tractor. The tractor ended up breaking down so many times, I ended up donating it to the World War II Museum in Portage, which is an awesome museum. I highly recommend anybody watching this in the Montello Portage area, check out the World War II Museum in Portage. The guy that running that place is just amazing. Another mistake we made, our garden. I touched on this a little bit earlier. We really screwed up on our garden. First year, most of it just didn't even work because the soil was so sandy. We've started composting since then, and we've worked on the soil quite a bit, but I'm confident this year we're going to have an amazing garden. But the first year, the second year, we grew some stuff died. It was really tough, and I wish that we would have met our neighbors. We don't have any neighbors here, it's hunting land, but we've since met our neighbor down the road who's a farmer. And he's like, oh yeah, we got sandy soil here, you do this, you do this, you do this. We should have just talked to somebody like that sooner. They live in the same area, they have the same sandy soil, they've been dealing with this for generations. Instead, we tried to figure it out ourselves and wasted a lot of time and money doing so. Like I said earlier, treat your homestead like a business. We're doing that in the regard that we're renting out the unit on Airbnb. We have the dog kennel that's bringing in money. We have YouTube that's bringing in money. But more so than that, treat it like a business and keep good records. How much money are you spending on chicken feed? How much money are you spending on your vet bill for your goats? So keep good records. There's really good software out there. There's a program we use called Wave Apps. It's a bookkeeping software. It's completely free. It's really good. You could use it for a business, which we do. We use it for our dog kennel. We use it for our Airbnb also. You could use it for your homestead. That's something that we're going to get a lot better at now that I wish we would have done from year one. All right, so in conclusion, after 5 years of being a homesteader, is it worth it? Yes, most definitely yes. There's some pros, there's some cons, there's a lot of mistakes that we made, but I wouldn't go back. Geez, I don't know if I would want to do it again. That's one thing. Like, would I want to do it again? It was so much work getting our house into a livable place. It's definitely worth it, but man, the thought of doing it again from this point forward, I don't want to think about that, but it's definitely worth it. We love it here. We're really fortunate. We're really blessed. We've got a ton of land. We've got animals. We've got freedom. We did it the smart way. We didn't overpay and have some huge debt hanging over our head. And we're using our homestead to generate income for us. So it's definitely worth it for us. If you're out there and you're thinking about becoming a homesteader, you want to become a homesteader, leave a comment down below or send me a private message email. I'm happy to talk to anybody if you want some guidance or a little mentorship. Again, the name of our channel is HomesteadHow. Learn with us. We're constantly learning. We're constantly making mistakes. I'm not going to come on here and say, oh yeah, be a homesteader, it's perfect, because it's not. There's a lot of drawbacks and there's a lot of negatives to anything. Two sides to every coin, but I'm really happy with the homestead that we have now and what we've built over 5 years, and I wouldn't go back. So thanks for watching, and if you're interested in learning more about our homestead, we've done over 100 videos on YouTube, and there's some really, really good ones on there. My daughter Emma and I built the greenhouse over there. That video is going nuts and it's got a ton of views. We had a great time making that. I recently did a video on our wood burning stove. In 2 weeks it has 500,000 views. It's a really good video. I'm not trying to brag on you. It's just that we've worked really, really hard on our YouTube channel over the last 5 years, and there's some really good videos in there that a lot of people haven't seen yet. Putting up our wall tent for the first time, building our dog kennel. We built 2 tiny houses. Remodeling our house, building the chicken tractor, putting up deer fencing, lots of really, really good homestead related videos on our channel. So be sure to subscribe and take a little peek back at some of the past videos. I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching.